Welcome to Questions from the Crowd, and today I'd like to introduce everyone to Leon Young, CEO and founder of Cogniss Holdings. Welcome, Leon.
Thanks, Tim. Great to be here.
We have a number of questions from the OnMarket audience. Firstly, I'd like to start, before we get into those, just very generally and very simply, who is Cogniss and what do you do?
Yeah, Cogniss is what we call a no-code platform for creating apps in the behaviour change, education and health spaces. And what we mean by that is that it's a platform that subject matter experts can use with no programming knowledge, no design knowledge. Really, anyone who wants to create a health, lifestyle or education app can build an app themselves on Cogniss. They can publish it out to the App Store or publish it out to the web and make use of very sophisticated features, artificial intelligence, gamification, things that would normally cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop with a developer.
And just a little bit further on no code, just explain that for those that don't understand what we mean by no code.
Yeah, no code is a massive trend that's really taking off at the moment. It's an area that I was involved in very early. In fact, I had a US-based company called No Code Inc. back in the 90s. That was an early web application no code company, a little bit ahead of its time as it turned out. But and that company I sold off to a listed entity. But the no-code trend has really started to mature just in the last 5 years. And what it is tools that allow people to make sophisticated software applications that in the past would have required designers, programmers, systems analysts, things like that just remove that layer and allow you to concentrate on the outcome that you want to achieve. And we've seen really a huge uptake of these platforms in different industries and for different outcomes. You know, very notably, Bubble is a no-code platform that's had huge success helping startups who build sort of Uber-type businesses and two-sided marketplaces and things like that. And they followed a kind of similar trajectory to us, where they spent a long time building and getting their market fit right. And now they're scaling very quickly and just done a US $100 million Series A. But you also see people like Microsoft have Power Apps, which is their business app, no-code platform, and many others in different niches.
And just delving then into human transformation technology, your offer document mentions there's sort of roughly 400,000 new apps were launched last year. And of those, 25% were in that HTT space. Are you able to just talk through the HTT space and why you're specialising in that area?
Yeah, okay. So HTT is a term that we kind of put around the market because it's a new emerging space that the analysts haven't really got to naming yet, but it's absolutely massive, and it includes really anything that drives a positive life outcome for people. So you can think of apps like Noom for weight loss, or Sweat for physical fitness, Headspace for mental health. Lots and lots of apps. We concentrate on that area because that is our background. So Cogniss is built by a team out of a business that I've been running for more than a decade. When we started building Cogniss, that business was called 2 and 2, and we were specialists at custom building sophisticated digital applications to drive health, lifestyle and educational outcomes. And we had a lot of success in that space. We won awards all around the world for our work, but we were very frustrated by the fact that the work that we did was expensive. Not many people could afford to use us. The projects were long and difficult, typically a year, and our customers needed a lot of resources as well as all the money they had to spend with us. And then you'd build an application, put it out in the market. It might be very successful, but the sort of updating of that and keeping it fresh became very difficult. So we often saw applications that were used by hundreds of thousands of people only have a really short life. So we decided to take all of that expertise that we have and put it into a no-code platform so that anyone could create these apps. And we started on that journey 5 years ago. And it's really taken that 5 years of working with real-world customers to get to a point where we now have a platform that can not only do all the things that we used to do as a custom developer, but actually do a lot of things that you would never even try to do because they'd be too expensive. And then at the same time, be usable by anyone who might want to build this type of app.
Okay. One of the questions that's come in here is in around your traction, which is highly impressive for such an early stage company. A list of blue chip clients. Maybe you can talk through those. Who are the clients? What apps are they developing? And I think the other thing that's really important is that you're profitable.
Absolutely. Well, this is the thing about bootstrapping the business to this point is that we've had to be really disciplined in making sure that what we build, people will pay for. So like any bootstrap business, it was a lot of pre-selling to customers who really saw the value and wanted us to build this out. And we've picked up really through word of mouth a very diverse list of customers. There's the Victorian government, the New South Wales government, Federal Department of Health were all customers, 7 major universities, companies like Veolia and Lendlease use the product, and they use it in quite diverse ways. So for instance, Lendlease is using it to improve health and safety outcomes on all their construction sites worldwide. So they're building their own apps now around driving behavior change in health and safety. We've got startups who are building apps in the early childhood education space on the platform. And then the university customers are mostly working in what they term human research, which is research around mental health or general health outcomes. And they're building apps. Usually it's research professors or their students building apps to deliver improved mental health outcomes and run formal studies around those. So those are great for us because these are the people who are at the absolute cutting edge of that science. And it kind of positions us in a leadership place because we're working on the sorts of things that aren't in market yet with them. So yeah, very, very diverse list of customers.
Yeah. What's interesting and what was I think most fascinating for us that you sit really at the nexus of the edtech space growing massively, the health tech space growing massively, and the no-tech or no-code space, which you were mentioning earlier, which is one of those massive trends. Apps have taken off. The fact that you don't need to be a developer or understand that coding language to do that is fascinating.
Absolutely, and you look at those markets; they're all growing into the hundreds of millions of dollars in the next few years, according to all the research reports. We're seeing people like Gartner talk about 65% of software development in the future being done using no-code and low-code platforms. So that side of it, in terms of who our customers are huge. But the really interesting thing is, as you say, we sit at that nexus where you've got edtech and medtech really starting to mature as markets, going beyond the sort of early applications, for instance, in edtech where people use learning management systems and deliver simple content, to thinking about how they actually deliver real sophisticated, measurable, real world outcomes. And so this puts us in a prime position to serve that. On the one hand, we've got the booming edtech and medtech markets creating pull, because that's our customers are the people serving that market. And we're sitting in this no-code market, which is how everyone wants to build things today, or will want to build things in the next few years.
So my understanding is you've done all this without any sales and marketing because you've been bootstrapping. So in terms of use of funds, and where is that heading to in terms of your scalability throughout Australia, obviously, offshore? Can you run through sort of where that funds are going and how you plan to? I imagine you're getting a lot of demand as well. So just sort of keeping up with demand alongside, your use of funds.
That's right. I mean, even servicing existing demand for us is a bit of an issue because we need to grow out customer success teams and things like that. But the beauty of the approach that we've taken is that we've had the time that a lot of SaaS companies don't have, where we didn't have to worry about growth so much. We just have to worry about paying the bills getting the product right for the customers. And now we've reached a very clear inflection point where we understand where we can grow very, very quickly. So our use of funds is really about building out a product-led growth strategy, so a marketing strategy to bring people in to use the product, customer success strategy around helping people become successful on that product, and then shoring up the rest of our team. You know, we have 5 engineers for a deep tech company. We'd like to have a few more to remove those single points of failure. But the big thing is that we're at a point now where we can see very clearly what our go-to-market strategy is. So something we realized at the beginning of this year is that 70 to 80% of the apps built on Cogniss to date are either led by researchers or they have a researcher attached to them. And so we suddenly realized there was huge demand in that research space, which really helped us think through a problem. Because before that, part of our problem was the diversity of customers that we had. Where is that first point that you want to grow? So we have a very clear go-to-market strategy. You know, we're raising $2 million now, which is about growing very quickly in that research market space, so servicing the universities, the big research organizations in APAC, really. From there, we're going to move to a Series A and take that strategy out more broadly and do that globally. And then Series B is about pushing out from the research market into all of those other areas that we can service, like pharmaceuticals, life sciences, education, etc. Now, the interesting thing with that is that we're still able to keep a toe in the water in those other market opportunities. At the moment, we're putting in agreements with resellers servicing markets like supplements, pharmaceuticals in the US, education, early childhood education in the UK. So we'll have partners that are selling in some of those markets, but it allows us to take our use of funds and really focus on that first market where we want to grow, which is in the research space.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Another question that's come in, and one of the final ones I'll ask you, is just in relation to your background. You haven't come down the last show. You've been around for a long time. Tech entrepreneur, tech leader. Can you give us just sort of a little 30-second snip on that for us?
Everything that we do in Cogniss, if you go back and look at my career, is kind of the summation of all the different experiences I have. Right. So I started my first serious business when I was 14, publishing games and then importing PCs from Asia when I was 16. Had a business with $1 million turnover the first year out of high school. So I've always been interested in growing businesses, but more interested in what software could do. So from that games development experience, it already had me interested in how you can engage people and drive behavior. In the 90s, as I mentioned before, I co-founded a company called No Code. We were really the first web no-code platform, expanded into the US, looked like great things were happening. .com crash came, and we sold into a public company that had its own issues. But the big thing we learned out of that I learned out of that really was about market timing. We were ahead of the market, and it sounds great to be ahead of the market, but actually you need to be right on where that wave is crashing to have success. But it also meant that it kind of gave me a view into what I wanted to do in the future. And from there, I got very interested in neuropsychology and neuroscience. And that led to the 2 and 2 business, where we were building custom solutions in this human transformation area. But all the time, I was still interested in that idea of how do you empower people to do these things themselves rather than needing to employ agencies. So I guess when you look at it like that, Cogniss was like a natural evolution. But the beauty about Cogniss from a business point of view is that we are right on the crest of that wave. We can see this massive expansion happening on the pull side of the market in terms of all the people who want to create health and education apps and things like that, but also the maturity of the no-code market. People are willing to development form now. Yeah,
so you say your timing this time is right on cue.
Right on. I mean, that's the whole thing that we haven't, as I said, we haven't done any sales or marketing to date. It's literally word of mouth that has been bringing us those customers.
With a SaaS business model and potential, easy scalability compared to other products.
Exactly, and we have a land and expand strategy, which you can think of a little bit like Atlassian. So, for instance, with one of the largest universities in the country, they are already a customer of Cogniss multiple times. Different people in the university have bought it and are paying their ongoing annual SaaS fees to use it to power apps. But the next step for us is to then roll that up into an enterprise sale, and get our product across the whole organization. So that's part of, the use of funds in this first phase. It's not just bringing in new customers, but it's scaling up those existing customers from being in the, $50,000 to $150,000 a year range to the several hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, no, I encourage anyone watching this to click on to the offer page for Cogniss and look at your testimonial video. Which is really well done, and sort of a snapshot of all the different industries and all the different people that you've been working with over the course of the last couple of years, and what they have to say about you, which is it's really impressive.
That was one of the most gratifying things we've ever done, actually, just go out and find the level of enthusiasm for our customers to actually talk about what we've allowed them to do.
Just one final question. I always ask this because everyone likes to effectively have an information part. What are probably the 2 or 3 things why an on-market investor should invest in your equity crowdfunding campaign?
Yeah, good question. I think there's a few outstanding things. The first thing is that there is this heat around the no-code market at the moment. I mentioned the $100 million Series A into Bubble. If you do a little bit of research into the investment in that area, it's absolutely exploded in the last year because all of the VCs are realizing that this is the next
wave,
right? From their point of view in terms of development technology. And here we sit in Australia. I've got to say, maybe I'm being a bit of a salesman here, but if you look at our valuation and what you're able to invest in our company at,
sure,
it's pretty good compared to what you'd be paying if we were based in Silicon Valley. And then, it's that whole thing of sitting at the nexus of those 2 markets. We really understand what drives effective outcomes in lifestyle, health, and education apps, because we've been building them for a long time. We've won over 50 major awards around the world for doing that. So we're just perfectly kind of seated to serve that market. And at the same time, it is that point where the wave is just about to break. We've got those testimonials. We've got those great blue chip customers. We just need to scale it. And this is why, for the first time now, we're actually going out to raise investment.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining us. We've been excited to bring this offer to the on-market database for quite a while now as we've been working on it. We saw with your expression of interest campaign the most number of people expressing their interest in that we've ever had into a crowdfunding campaign.
Right.
So it serves us well, and we wish you every success.
Thanks very much, Jim.